Just in time for Easter, I got a few rabbits in for the restaurant. One thing that I don't see a lot, though, that kind of perplexed me when I first brought in whole bunnies was how to cook the saddle. So I'm going to break one down and show you how I do that. You can see these are the back legs right here, and then these are the forelegs. The forelegs will come off pretty easy. You almost don't even need a knife. And one of the best parts about rabbits is that you're going to have a lot of kind of flap meat that you can trim off, and this is really good to grind up and make into a little stuffing for the saddles. So for these, you just take off some of this excess meat, and then these little forelegs are really good confit or stewed. But you can almost take the forelegs off with your hand. They're not really connected by a joint like the legs. And the next thing I do is, just like a chicken, I'll just kind of bend the legs to stabilize it. And then I'll go in, just like a chicken, and expose the joint here. Give that a little pop. And then most of the time when I serve them, I'm probably going to remove this bone, but I'll leave this one as far as the legs. Then you get another funky little piece that has part of the oyster on it, like a chicken. Sometimes these are called helicopter bones, and there's a decent amount of meat on them, so I'll trim this off, roast the bones for stock, and then grind up this and put it into the stuffing, or I'll save them up in the freezer, and they're really good soaked in buttermilk and deep fried. Kind of like rabbit wings. And once again, just going to expose that bone. Now, what you're left with is what will be the saddle. We're going to need a heavy knife because basically, I can see here, these are the tenderloins, and then these are the loins, which are covered in a thin kind of layer of flat meat here, which we're going to keep pretty much attached. And there's a number of different ways to go about it, but what I'm probably just going to do is take the flat meat down probably to about here where our tenderloins start, and I can always trim it down a little bit more. And now you get out a heavy knife, and we're just going to cut right down through that. You can see there's a teeny bit of the loin meat left. You're going to want to take that off. I'm going to do that later. And then we got one more bone right here. So we're just leaving the loins intact. Now comes the tricky part. We need to leave the loins attached, but we want to take this bone out here so that we can stuff it. So we're basically let's see here. I'll take off the tenderloins. We can make a little slice right here. And we're just going to try to follow the bone. And you want to be really careful right about here. This is where you'll break through to the other side. You want to stay as close to the bone as you can. And it's basically only going to be a very thin layer of connective tissue, leaving this guy together as one piece. But once you get over that, it's pretty easy. And if you do make a slit and cut through it, you can always patch it up with a piece of bacon or something. So what you're going to see here is what we end up with. This is our vertebrae, which I'm going to save for stock again. And I did an kind of a hack job on this, but once we stuff it, it will be totally fine. But the idea here, make sure you don't got any bones. Watch out for those guys. The idea is you put some stuffing here, and then we'll trim up some of this flap meat, and then you have your stuffing that you've probably made from your trim that's ground up and mixed with some breadcrumbs and pine nuts or something else, whatever you like, some herbs. And then you're going to fold it like this, and then probably tie it with twine, and then you sear it and roast it, and your stuffing is right here so that after it's cooked and sliced, you have these beautiful cross sections of the stuffing, and it's really an impressive looking little mini rabbit roast. And I know when I put them on the menu, if I save up all the saddles, and when I put them on, they're going to be much more expensive than just the legs. So that's basically how I like to bone out a rabbit, to get the saddle to stuff it and make a little entree.